Hello and welcome to Speaker Matchmaking and Showcase Wednesday. And I'm Wendy Panther.
And I'm Linda Cooper.
And we are the founders of the Landau Company. And we're here today to talk to you about why decision making when you're in a state of victim,
how people make bad decisions when they're in victim mentality, essentially, is what we're going to be talking about.
Thank you for correcting me there, Linda.
So that's and it's because it's my favourite topic about some of the ways in which things happen. And it's something that I've just put, we are actually emotional coaches. We are emotional mentors and relationship coaches. So we often support people who are
embroiled in a bit of the victim.
Yeah, absolutely. And we run a programme called Becoming You, the Great Effing I Am, which is about enabling people to become the powerful person that they are.
Yeah.
Which means part of what we do is help people remove the victim mentality.
Yes.
Eliminate
the victim mentality.
Yes.
So how would you know that you're in victim mentality? Well, quite a few of our clients are people who have gone through the process or are in the process of getting divorced, whether it's through having been in an abusive relationship and leaving it, or just in the process of a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how that particular situation can trigger and
hold people
disempower you into the victim mentality.
Because there's two sides to it.
Big deep breath then, as we both were about to say the same together. So how would you know if you're in the victim mentality? Well, we're just going to share the screen. Why can't I get to me? That's the desktop. Bizarre. Right. I put share. Will it allow me then on? It has. I need that off. And I need that up. That's why, because I've not put it larger. So do you want to start again?
No, I'm quite happy to carry on, darling. Unless you want
so there we are, we're there.
Do you want
so
to?
Why people, yeah, let's.
No, shall we not just, let's just stop here. I can edit.
Okay.
I can edit. So you've done it really easy and it comes straight up.
All right.
So here we are. Why do people make bad decisions when they're in victim mentality? And what is victim mentality? Let's start there. Because how do you know when you're in victim mentality? How would you know? And how would you spot somebody else who is?
And I'm telling you now, if you walk around and you just listen to people, be prepared, because there's a heck of a lot of it about. It seems to be part of the group consciousness within society at the moment. And the notion of people wanting to rescue victims is also another part of the victim mentality. But if we're talking about just purely being in the victim and not in the rescuer today, it is, what would the victim be saying?
It's not my fault.
Never is.
No, it's nothing to do with me. And when you're feeling it, you have a sick feeling inside that somebody might say it is.
Yes, that's true.
That's actually what happens. I can remember vividly, and it sounds ludicrous nowadays when I look back to when I was at school and I taught somebody's paper.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl bullied me for ages afterwards because she was going to tell on me. Mm-hmm. So all the way through in that, it wasn't my fault, but it was my fault because I knew I'd done it. But then she carried on bullying me, essentially.
Yeah, because it's the pro thing of when you're in victim mentality, it's amazing how easy it is to find the bully to keep you in that victim mentality.
Because if I just fessed up in the first place and said, I'm sorry I did that, and said to the teacher, I did it,
then there'd have been no issue. The other is the complainer. If you are complaining about anything, you are likely to be in a victim mentality. Next one.
Yeah, and it's usually about other people, because it's not about you. You wouldn't be complaining about you in that way. It's complaining about others and what they've done.
Blame, the blame game. There's always somebody to blame. It's not my fault, so it must be your fault. So there's the blame game. It's the other side of the coin to it's not my fault.
And it's how you use where there's blame, there's a claim. So I'm going to use this because this is where you get secondary benefits to being a victim.
Oh yes, definitely.
Because you then make decisions that keep you in victim because you get the benefit of being the poor person that's been wronged, and particularly in breakup situations. And because we were talking about earlier on, there's two particular types of breakup. There's the one where you, having been traumatized, instigate the break. So this is bringing you out of this and into your power. And there's the other where it's been foisted upon you, where you didn't expect it to happen.
And then you become the victim of that.
Yeah.
And I have to share one with you because it's when I left my husband and I went, you're acting as though you're a victim in this. And I went, but I am a victim. So, and he still is, even 18 months, nearly 2 years later.
So the point is that it actually affects your decision making. That's what we said. So beware, because it's definitely not a good place. We'll come on to why later.
Yeah. Should we jump in front?
I was.
So the other thing about the victim mentality is you think that the world is against me. I can't cope. I don't know how to cope. I feel utterly powerless.
Oh, there are so many times.
And I can moan and I can groan and I can complain and I can whinge and I can do poor me to the absolute and utter amazingness of all around me.
And she has done at times, and so have I. Victim, as far as shadow consciousness and the way in which our unconscious shadow archetypes affect us, the victim archetype I have played. Mm-hmm. I am so good at it. I even had to have a conversation with myself this morning because it's so unconscious. I'm not running victim mentality, but I do have one or two victim patterns that occasionally occur in my thinking.
Yes, that's true.
But not the full mentality where it was before.
And it's this next bit, which was feeling attacked when somebody tries to offer helpful feedback.
Wendy deems it helpful, unless I'm giving it to her, which is when it works the other way around. And that's the thing that happens with victim mentality. It depends on where you are at any given point. And then you've got the self-pity part. And I know several people who've thrown pity parties because I want to express this. I want to get this out. And sometimes that is a really good and valid way to come out of victim mentality. The secret in doing that, though, is to seriously let it go.
Leave it, yes. But when we talk it, so this presentation isn't about just the victim mentality. It's about what are the consequences then to that victim mentality. And it's the consequences that are many ways of more importance. Well, one is, where did you learn it? I'll go back. It's one little bit that we'd missed as we thought about this. Where did you learn victim mentality? So where did you learn victim mentality, Linda?
When I was a child, I learned the benefits that I got from saying it wasn't me,
from acting the victim.
Mm.
When you look around within society, we have, as we mentioned previously in the drama triangle, we have the rescuers, we have the activists, we have the people going to help. But it's as Linda said, the key thing is when you learn victim mentality, and it is an unconscious process. So when people tell you that you have a choice as to whether you're in victim mentality or not, a lot of that is based down to it being a conscious or unconscious process. I think back to when we had a sneak thief come into the house. I was upstairs, my husband had gone out, he came in, he or she, I don't know which it was, came in, took the goods and left. And at the time I just shouted downstairs thinking it was my husband that was coming in. And it wasn't until later that evening when I noticed something missing. And then I noticed the patio door was open when it had not been open earlier on, and kind of went, have you opened that? No, it's not you, it's not me. But what was fascinating was when the police came, because God bless them, they're used to dealing with lots of victims, and for people seeing themselves as victims. And part and parcel of the questionnaire that you do when you actually fill it in is, do you feel victimized by this? Because guess what? You can get compensation for it. And I'm kind of going, well, no, I'm all right, thank you. No, I don't need to say, well, if it goes to court and this, and no, actually, that wasn't it. All I wanted was my property back and the person that took it to get the just desserts. I wasn't interested in acting the victim to make their just desserts even more just, or whatever just title as you'd want to give it. But that is the way that society is set up, that we cosset the victim, as opposed to
and so
getting
much,
over the victimhood.
I'm going to say, and so much so sometimes that unless you actually play it to the full, the court doesn't always recognise that you've had something traumatic happen to you. So we've had to teach people how to be strong and able to speak their truth
without
and
being
still
a victim.
show that it happened. Because that's the thing, that they have to be able to convince the court that it happened without
melting down,
going into meltdown and tears and proving, oh, poor me. Because I was the best tearjerker in the world. Anytime I wanted anything off my husband or feeling out of sorts, and I could do tears.
So remember, this is the consequences of the victim mentality. But how does it affect your decision making?
And Wendy's going to come back to that now, because she's
really good at
doing this.
How does it affect you? Full stop. How does it affect you? Oh, I like this one because now it's set up
where we want
properly.
It to be.
Right, there we go. So the impact of victim mentality. At a mental level, you feel disempowered. You give away your power to the other person when you accept yourself as a victim. We're not talking about... because you believe all those things that we said in the victim mentality. You believe it's not your fault. You believe the other person's to blame. You believe that there's nothing else that you could do. It's all at this belief level within inside your head, and it's not conscious, because if it was conscious, you'd be able to challenge it and change it like that.
And because that's one of the things that we teach our clients, how to challenge and change it on two different levels, on the both the energetic level and on the mental level.
And physiologically, when you're in victim mentality, I'm trying to say that, I suppose, when you're in victim mentality, this puts a stress on you physically. It causes you to release the fear hormones. It causes you to release the adrenaline. It causes you to go into the fight or flight mode. It stops you from healing, and it stops you from thinking. Which, when we talk about the physiological effect, it actually disengages you from, it puts you into the limbic brain, which is the reptilian brain, which is the
save yourself
and purely that, and it takes you away from this part of the brain thinking. This frontal temporal lobe gets just shut off. This is the area of reasoning. This is the area of creativity. This is the area of insight and clear thinking.
Yes. Yeah. And it also disconnects you from your heart, from knowing what your heart is, because you've equally got brain cells, if you like, neurological cells within your heart. And that's about neuroreceptors in your heart. So within that, it's about when your head and your heart are aligned. And if you're out of your head, or if you're too much in your head, no, that's the thing. If you're totally in your head, which is the anxiety one, but you're running the anxiety pattern thinking, as opposed to the clear thinking, then you're disconnected from your heart and being able to know what's right for you, about what's right for you in any given decision.
So how do you change it, given that it's an unconscious pattern?
First and foremost, always,
as we've said, it's about connecting to the hero inside yourself. It's about connecting to your heart. It's about connecting to the warrior that is the opposite of the victim. It's about the person who knows how to set the boundaries. It's about the person who knows how to take the event, learn from it, and move on, not relive it and rehash it and relive it and rehash it and relive it and rehash it and go over and over and over it and keep you in that terribly disempowered state where you will end up making poor decisions.
And that's where some particular techniques take you. They take you into that repeat and repeat. So certain methods of counselling, certain methods of coaching, certain methods of psychotherapy take you into that, relive it. I know one of my, in the very early days when I'd learned NLP, and I mean really early days when I'd learned NLP, one of my colleagues, her daughter had been raped, and she said she didn't like going back to her counsellor because she had to relive it every time. And I said it then, and I say it now, and I stand by it. You should not have to repeat your shit to deal with it. It's a cruel and I think criminal way to have to deal with stuff, which is why
dare I say we're talking about decision making?
I don't care.
We've got into a nice passionate thing about that. I'm totally agree with Linda on it.
Thank you.
And it's how does it affect? So Linda's got a brilliant technique that she's going to show you now, that when she was talking about the heart and connecting to the heart, it's about how to connect, how to get out of your victim mentality and move into a connection between the heart and the brain to enable you to make a heartfelt decision as opposed to a crazy mixed up head decision.
Yeah, because mine was a heartfelt thing that I was talking about there, about people having to relive things. So in order to keep you out of the repetitive thinking and to connect in to who you are, first and foremost,
especially with a major decision,
intention follows attention. So the first thing to do in order to connect to the heart and remove you from this mixed up thinking is to simply put your hand over your heart. And it's where your palm is down here, which is where your heart is, if you want to do it physiologically fully, because that's just underneath the ribs or to the left, just underneath your boob, ladies, just at the side of your chest, men. It's there that you connect to that. And in just touching that, it's where you go when you said, it's about me. I felt it. It was me. That's where your hand needs to be. It's about me. And while you're there, connected where your hand is, just breathe. And at this point, I want you to take 5 deep breaths. And it's normally count up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you've done that 5 times and reached that stage of calmness, it means that you've moved from limbic brain back into heart, where you can actually check what's the right decision for you. And it's particularly if you're having to make decisions around, if it's about a trauma, do I want to make a decision to take this further or not? Is it in my best interest to take action beyond the extracting myself from the situation? Those sorts of decisions have to be made separate from victim mentality, because otherwise you cannot think straight and actually be able to foresee patterns, consequences, and what's right for you. You get stuck in logic and but why those sorts of conversations.
And especially if you're in victim mentality, you also get stuck in retribution and revenge and all of those type of things, because whilst you're in victim mentality, it can also then just flake and into the revenge,
which would be the perpetrator side.
The perpetrator side of the victim triangle,
in order to get back at them for what they've done to you.
Yeah, which still means that you're in victim.
So the way in which to get out of victim mentality at any given point, this is what we call our sticking plaster. It's the one that you can do there and then at a given point where you have to make a single decision, and it will enable you to make that decision. There are other things that you need to do to make sure that you stay out of it. And we talk about them in other videos and in other things on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, which is called Becoming You, the Great Effing I Am. So within those, that's where we give some of the other gems away. But the bottom line here, to get out of victim mentality at a given point, to make a given decision about, is this right for me? Hand on heart, 5 deep breaths. Ask yourself the question and wait for the feeling.
Yes.
And based on the feeling, make the decision.
Brilliant. So that brings us to the end of the effect of the victim mentality on your decision-making capabilities. Do hope you've enjoyed it and do hope that you've got something from it.
And we look forward to seeing you perhaps on our page. Thank you very much.
Bye.